I was interrupted by a phone call. What is going on here? It's only been 3 weeks. I have no customer history at this boutique. I've only stepped in there twice. I knew this was something serious. They did do a light background check on me. But there we go. I just blew my chance for a steel sports watch Rolex. Just 1 month ago, I walked into a Rolex AD. Flash forward 1 month later, I was offered this. Now, before we even get into what this watch is, I want to talk a little bit about what led up to this moment. Like a lot of us watch enthusiasts, it's hard to even fathom the thought of purchasing a desirable steel sports watch from Rolex just by walking into the store. A lot of us don't even try. I mean, maybe a few of us go in there just for giggles to see a barren store filled with nothing inside of the cases. I'd sometimes walk into a Rolex AD just to see what isn't there. My original plan wasn't to foster any type of relationship with this AD. My wife somehow convinced me that it was a good idea to show a face here and there, develop a conversation or two, have a possibility of getting a watch. I always shun that down, knowing that a lot of these dealers are dealing with their VIP customers who spend roughly 6 figures or so a year just so they can get offered a desirable steel sports watch. So I thought, you know what, why not give it a shot and just test my luck with this. After being let in by the security guard, looking around, there was basically nothing. This boutique did have a few exhibition models you can look at. So as me and my wife roamed around the store alone, someone popped out of the back door to greet us. And to my surprise, we had a fairly good conversation about watches. I was wearing my Casio beside. He actually asked me, like, oh, what is that on your wrist? And you know, at a distance, it kind of does like an aquanaut, like I've said before in my last video. And that's originally what he thought as well. And in my mind, I'm like, well, there we go. I just blew my chance for a steel sports watch Rolex. But it wasn't a case. It actually turned a pivot into our conversation into more watch enthusiast-driven watches, such as the Kurono Tokyo, the moon swatches, of course. And so that first interaction was actually a lot better and genuine than most interactions I've had with other Rolex ADs. Out of curiosity, what does it take to buy one of these steel sports watches? This is a question I ask usually every AD, and all of them relatively had the same answer. Develop a relationship with the AD, come in from time to time, just so they get a better understanding of what you like. I didn't think anything much about that. I thought it was a pretty generic response, and I just left my contact info with them, and we just went about our day. Before he left, told us to come in next time and bring one of the moon swatches we've gotten, because he's never seen one in person before. 2 weeks after that first encounter, my wife actually strapped on the Kurono Tokyo on one wrist and the Mission to Uranus on the other. I also strapped on the Mission to Mars to bring over, just to show a variety of watches. So we got in, waited a little bit, and he popped out very enthusiastically as if he was super excited to see us. And to be honest, I didn't even think that he would remember us. And him being a watch enthusiast, he was super excited to see these in person, and especially the Kurono Tokyo. So at this point, it really didn't feel like I was walking into a Rolex AD. It was more like walking into a bar and there happens to be a really cool dude there with the same interest in this crazy watch world we're all into. To my surprise, we actually spent about an hour in there just talking watches. After we wrapped up most of our conversation, he asked me what watches were I interested in. At that point, I was kind of caught off guard because I wasn't really expecting any mention of business with that boutique, especially that early in the stage. I stated the models that of course I was interested in, and it happened to be those watches that everyone is interested in but can't seem to get their hands on it. Of course, if we play over retail for these, you can easily get them. He took note of watches that I was interested in, and again, we went about our day after that. So there was something in my gut that was telling me that I was somewhat successful in securing a piece. And I had this thought in my mind that 6 months to a year, maybe a year and a half, I'll get that phone call. Now, funny enough, a few days after that second encounter, I was able to pick up the Saturn and Sun moon swatches. I was super excited. I called up my family, telling them that I already completed my collection. If there's anything that they want, I can probably look out for and scout it out for them. I was interrupted by a phone call, and I looked at the number. I did not recognize that number, but something told me that this was that call. And to my surprise, it was that Rolex boutique, and they said to come in because they have something to show me. I couldn't believe what I heard. Obviously, it was going to be one of those watches that I've mentioned, right? But then, of course, in the back of my mind, I was thinking maybe they were going to offer me some ladies piece or some undesirable piece that they're just trying to clear off their shelves so that I can be offered a sports watch of my choosing. Why not? Let's just see what they have to offer. And the entire time as I'm walking through the hallways, my mind was just racing with thoughts like, what is going on here? Really unbelievable. It's only been 3 weeks. I have no customer history at this boutique. I've only stepped in there twice. I'm basically just a normal person. So the person that I was working with came out of the back room with something in his hand. He was wearing gloves, and he told me to sit inside the private showroom. So I knew this was gonna be something serious. He told me up front that they did do a light background check on me, which honestly was kind of off-putting. I've never purchased anything from a Rolex AD before, so this is my first time experiencing this whole mystery. Basically went through my whole social media account profiles, although they didn't find this channel, I don't think. And for those of you that do know me very well, I did work in the watch industry. That specific company that I was working for is also a competitor to this AD. That's something that I don't really want people to know, especially walking into any authorized dealer, especially for Rolex. But he did say that he knows that I'm a true watch enthusiast and true watch collector, which really lifted a ton off of my chest. I was a little choked up. I thought he pulled me in there to interrogate me, it almost felt like. But I honestly appreciated that he mentioned that, because that guilt was completely set free from that point. He said, well, I have something here and I think you're gonna like it. And there it was, Pepsi GMT on Jubilee. At the time, working in the watch industry for a while and seeing a bunch of basically Rolexes coming through, you really get jaded by everything Rolex, because that's the most popular and desirable watch brand in the entire world by far. For some reason, I've seen so many Pepsis, but holding that watch in your hand, knowing that it could potentially be yours, just puts that watch in a different light. The fact that I'm able to then and there purchase it at retail, that's such a unicorn, and especially in less than a month. I was speechless the entire time. I was super flattered to the point where I got a little emotional. I knew one day I'll be able to purchase these at retail if I were to wait a little bit, but to be offered one right then and there was such a magical experience for me. The purpose of this video is to show you how I was even able to get this watch, being a normal person with no sales history within that small time period. If you guys would like a review of this watch, just let me know down in the comments below. I'll give it the Clicky Bezel take. I guess with a tip that I can give with the experience that I had, try going into your local AD. Go in there for the right intentions though. These watches are very desirable. You can easily flip them for double or even more than the retail value depending on the model. If you have a true passion for Rolex watches or just watches in general, they'll see it. They'll see your excitement. I mean, I'm still lost for words. I still can't believe that this is sitting in my watch box at the moment. So I'd like to know your experience walking into a Rolex AD, or really any AD for that matter. Did you have a good experience? Was it lackluster? Let me know in the comments below. I know this is more of a talking head video, not much of a on-hands review of the watch. If you guys would like to see a Clicky Bezel take of a review on this watch, please let me know and I'll definitely do it. Well everyone, I hope you all enjoyed my story. I'm Chris from Clicky Bezel and we'll see you next time.